Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host Tony Cañas, and recording this episode is the one thing keeping me from a delicious Argentinian steak dinner in Buenos Aires. So if I'm in a hurry, you know why. And I've had a lot of coffee today. I didn't sleep well, had a lot of coffee. Today I have with me Dilip Mohapatra, founder and CEO at Cognitive View. Dilip, thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
Good. Thank you, Tony, for having me.
Awesome, awesome. And I was asking Dilip just before we started recording how we met, and he reminded me that we met at ITC Vegas. So this is the Tony he met, and my red jacket. The red jacket's actually at the tailor right now getting repairs because I wear it so much that literally it's breaking all over the place, and it's custom made, so it's hard to replace. Uh, so it's getting repaired right now, so I don't have it on me. But excited to see you at ITC again. I'll be wearing this, the red jacket, and this year I'll be doing magic also. So definitely find me, ask me to do a trick. Uh, anyway, there will be fire involved. We'll see what I can come up with from. I'm getting myself trained right now, basically.
I'm,
Okay,
I'm up for any
so
trick that
Dilip,
you play. Yeah,
so according to LinkedIn, you are in Austin, Texas. Is that
that's
accurate?
correct. I'm based in Austin, Texas, but I travel quite a bit between Australia and Austin. So yeah,
Are you in Australia right now, or are you in Austin?
right now I'm in Melbourne, Australia. This is our core development team is there, but I'm based in Austin, so
And
I just go back and forth.
okay, so we are recording at 6 p.m. Argentina time, which is, I believe, 4
It's
p.m. Austin time.
yeah,
Uh,
it's 7 o'clock in the morning
Australia,
here.
are you? What time in the morning?
7 o'clock.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad. I always feel really bad when people log in and they're like, it's 3 a.m. my time. And I'm like, oh, you should have sent me an email. We could have found a better time. Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, so first of all, thank you for joining me today. We always give the guest a chance to give the elevator pitch. So what is cognitive view?
Yeah. Look, thanks, Tony, for the opportunity. First of all, you know, if we look at companies globally pay billions of dollars in fine because of compliance failure, and it affects their reputational damage when they're actually engaging with customers, and they if in the context of insurance, for example, there is a lot of claim dispute happening. Customers are not happy in terms of their providers. So we basically have a technology that can understand what's going on with your customer engagement, whether it's a sales process. We have an AI based communication monitoring tool that makes sure that your agents are compliant, they're doing the right thing in terms of customers' satisfaction, and they're handling the claims properly. So it's an AI based omni-channel communication monitoring tool that ensures that you're 100% compliant and your customers are treated well and you are actually driving better engagement out of it.
Okay, okay. So very interesting. Okay. So your technology, the notes that I took, okay, can understand customer engagement in the sales process, communication, kind of the whole
That's correct.
process, and
That's correct.
use
Yeah.
AI to monitor to make sure that we're doing it correctly. Is that the basic idea? Okay. So this is very interesting. So I think you said making sure the adjusters are doing the right thing. So that's a big claim. Uh, pun on purpose, basically.
Yeah, so
What does the
let me
system look
paint
like?
a
How does it make
proper
sure that the
picture of
adjusters are doing
exactly
the
what
right
happens.
things?
So, a customer wants to buy a travel insurance policy, and they call the insurer actually to buy the policy. And what's the agent that's on the call? What they need to do is they need to explain what the policy entitles the customer. They need to get the disclosures right in terms of did you have an accident in last 5 years, or if you're buying a life policy, then they have to ask a bunch of questions, because what you're doing is making sure that underwriting risk is managed correctly. So that's part of the sales process. And then you have, and of course you have to do a couple of things like privacy, support the privacy requirement, GDPR, depending on where you are. And then when the customer actually lodge a claim, that you actually have to make sure that the claim, as part of the claim process, you understand the customer's exclusions properly, if there is any specific policy exclusions and things like that, so that you can serve that claim as needed. But what we see is a lot of the time there is a customer has a certain understanding of what they're entitled to versus what they're claiming, and that creates a lot of confusion or a dispute actually. So we have a technology that can take all that product disclosure requirement or regulatory requirement from those PDS or terms and condition document, and when your contact center staff is actually calling the customer, so it makes sure that they are following all those best practices disclosure requirement, right, so that you don't have a claim down the line. Yeah. Yeah, so it looks into voice data, it looks into
Is it
chatbot
recognizing
data, it looks into
voice?
all the communications basically. It's not just looking into voice. Yeah.
Especially on the voice side, that's really crazy because like I started in a call center, right? I started in the claims call center at Farm Bureau, the Farm Bureau of Iowa, and like just in the maybe 30 people that worked in that call center, we were all asking the same things. We're asking them in different ways. So how can the system make sure, for example, that we gave every customer the option of getting
Yeah,
the claim paid via
yeah,
transfer instead of a
the AI
check
models that we
when
developed
we
are
each
very
ask that question
specifically
differently?
designed to understand a lot of these complex regulatory requirements. Because think about it, like if you are asking for, if you call the contact center, the first thing that they're supposed to say is that for privacy and coaching, this call is recorded and monitored. Now that's a privacy that because you are recording the call, you need to get the customer's um, consent, or same with the specific disclosure requirement. So the AI is looking into actual intent rather than looking for specific topics and keywords. So that's the key difference, because so you can ask that, yeah, so you can ask that question in so many different ways, but it's basically
That
making
is
sure that the
fantastic.
agent actually meant what they, uh, you know, uh, they're supposed to ask, because people have different ways how they express certain things, and customers also have different ways how they express certain things. So you can't actually just look for certain keywords or
Hmm.
terms basically. So you have to look for intent. So it's intent based.
Okay, that's fantastic. I'm looking at the website, and one of the things that really caught my eye. Um, so automate compliance, reduce conduct risk. That makes perfect sense. Okay, monitor all the different channels. That makes perfect sense. Uh, complaint monitoring as part of the risk strategy. That's pretty cool. I let's start there. So yeah, tell me about that. Tell me
Yeah.
about how you guys can help with complaint monitoring. So I'm sure companies do
Yeah,
monitor
so what happens
complaints,
is if we
but I
look
have no
at
idea
a
what that
lot of the
looks like
ombudsman
today and what that
data,
could look like with you
for
guys.
specific to insurance, so you have different regulatory requirement. You have federal regulatory requirement, then you have state specific regulatory requirement, and then you have ombudsman bodies, which basically entitles the customer that if they are not happy with the outcome of a complaint they lodge with the provider or a broker, they can go to the ombudsman body. What we have seen with the statistics of the ombudsman data, that the majority, the top reason, in fact, almost up to 70% of the top reason why the complaints are happening in the insurance space is because of the claim dispute. It could be because of the denial of claim. It could be because of the claim amount. It could be because the assessment that's been done for a content or a home damage that customer is not happy with. Or a lot of the time it's more because of the understanding the customer has on about the policies, so the exclusion policy, what that entitles them. So if we can And that can take a lot of time to for companies to resolve, because sometimes they're looking into claims data, they're going back to the policy of the customer to say, okay, what that policy entitles them to do. They want to understand other assessment data, that the independent assessment has been done on that claim. They're looking into all these different pieces of puzzle to understand how to resolve that claim or complaint, basically. So because complaint and claims are mostly interrelated, and that is the top reason why it's happening. So what we are doing is, because we have a platform that can understand not only your terms and condition, your policy terms and condition that your people need to comply with, but the policy what that entitles the customer, but also what actually has happened in the claims or sales process itself, because it can pull out all this data. When I'm working on a complaint that the customer has lodged, I know exactly what has happened. Is it because the customer has said something that, let's say, he has made a false disclosure in the first place, and now, or this could be a fraud issue that he is actually trying to do this common fraud patterns that we've seen elsewhere. So because it's looking into a lot of this unstructured data from sales call, claims call, it you can actually understand and resolve that complaint better, because it tells you sort of guideline to say, okay, hey, this is the reason why this customer is complaining, and these are the possible ways how you should look at resolving it. We don't recommend anything, because we should not recommend anything. Rather, we provide a lot of observations based on the data that we've seen. So if you are a broker, if you're a small insurance broker, or a provider, irrespective of your type of policies or insurance that you sell, if you want to really automate the whole compliance and customer experience monitoring, we can do that and reduce that claim dispute that you're having.
Okay, fantastic. Um, Another thing that really caught my eye is this whole idea of a single platform for regulatory chain and real time compliance monitoring. So I have no idea if normally you end up with multiple platforms. In insurance, it seems that we end up with multiple platforms for everything. But the idea of the compliance monitoring being real time, that is super, super attractive. So I'm curious, kind of the
Yeah,
old
so
way of
typically
monitoring
customer
compliance.
have
What did it look like compared
supervisors.
to
You
what you
have
guys can do?
supervisors. So let's say you have a 20 people call center. You got supervisors who randomly listening to phone calls, and mostly they can cover only 3 to 5% of the calls because of the sheer volume of it. And what they're looking is, they have, which I can say, like most companies have this spreadsheet that they call it like the spreadsheet for QA assessment. And the spreadsheet looked like this. The spreadsheet have this regulatory requirement, your industry code requirement, industry best practices, depending on where you at, which actually contains a lot of the state specific regulations. It has a lot of the guidelines around financial inclusivity or customer vulnerability type of requirement. Like if a customer is vulnerable, that these are the things you're supposed to do. It has those product disclosure requirement that, okay, I'm selling a travel insurance policy, then these are the 3 things I need to educate my customer is about, and I need to get this disclosure right because of the underwriting risk. So they're looking at this spreadsheet, and they listen to phone calls, and they're trying to mark for with that spreadsheet, assess the spreadsheet based on how well that person sold the policy, or how well that person actually managed the claim. What we are doing is, we are completely automating that process. So in real time, means when the call is actually happening, the sales call is actually happening, the claims call is actually happening, at that point of time whether the compliance requirements are met, whether whether the underwriting risk, which is related to disclosure requirements, have been met correctly. So it gives you that insight for omni-channel, not limited to voice, but voice, text, emails, whatever form that you communicate with your customer. it basically gives you the insight to make sure that you are not only compliant but you are doing the right thing. So it's completely automating that process of manual listening to phone calls, because no one likes to listen phone calls. Yeah.
So yeah, no, no. I was never a supervisor, but I was a call center employee, having my calls pulled, and then every once in a while getting pulled into a room and like getting coached on how to improve the call. Usually a call from like 3 weeks ago, and so it sounds to me like the old system is halfway decent, not great, halfway decent when it comes to managing the person's performance, but really, really, really bad when it comes to managing your compliance because you're listening to so few calls. So, so yeah, I very much like the idea. Finally, I'm also noticing on the website a modern approach to compliance that leaves no gaps. Like I'm not a lawyer, but if I worry about the whole no gaps, right? Promising no gaps is that's a big claim.
Yeah, I
How
think
have you guys gotten to a point where you're
because
confident
it's
saying no
the AI is
gaps?
pretty smart these days, right? So we started with we call it like a discriminative AI, which basically looks at certain type of labels or type of things that you're saying, versus now we have generative AI. The technology has actually evolved in a big way. So it's a very powerful technologies with GPUs and the smarts that it built around it. So it can sort of pick up everything and what's being said in between. So it's not looking for sometimes for a specific sentence, but it is looking at the full conversation in a holistic manner, or it is looking at a number of conversations. Let's say I call for to buy a policy, to inquire a policy, and then but then I call back again to really complete that policy. So you are looking for multiple calls to make sure that that call is compliant. So, and that's where the AI can correlate between one number of different calls, but look at the whole conversation itself to make sure that there's nothing wrong or everything is done in the right way. But I think it's important to highlight that underwriting risk is something, when you are actually selling a policy, what's important is that you manage that underwriting risk uh, well, because we have a technology evolution that everyone is trying to get the policy sold within a minute. So okay, how can we sold the policy online? Because really customers don't want to go and talk to someone, they just want to go to a website, they just buy the policy. So you're doing a more real time policy sell, or real time talking to a customer and selling on instant. But then what about the underwriting risk? Because most of the claim is happening because of the underwriting risk in the first place. Have you really asked the right questions? Have you really understood the risk correctly? But if you can have an AI that makes sure that your underwriting risk is at the minimal level, that is the golden thing, because that saves a lot of money to the the policy owners, right? Or sorry, to insurance companies. So yeah. Yeah, anything, because we have built
Does it
hundreds
potentially
of
work with any
templates
line of insurance, commercial lines,
in
personal lines,
the
anything?
system of the platform. So if I'm a content insurance company, then I'll just come and select my set of policies that applies to my type, or versus a travel versus a life. So or versus I'm insuring, let's say, specific professional indemnity or cybersecurity policies. So there are so many different business rules if you think about it, the type of things that you can insure against. So we basically embed hundreds of those policies out of the box. The templates means it can monitor when you are actually selling those type of policies. Means you can make sure that your risk is lesser, underwriting risk is lesser, and your customers are having a good claims experience. Because end of the day, all that matters is the claims. Do I get the value for what I paid for? That's I'm waiting for that. I bought that policy for a specific situation or something went terribly wrong. When I desperately need what I paid for, is that provider with me? Because that's how they look at everything around it. So because that's how they look at
Absolutely.
everything around it. So yeah, I
What is the
think
pricing
it's
like? Does this
based on
only
the
make sense
number of
for really
agent
large
that you have on
carriers,
the call
or
center,
what is the pricing like?
either selling policies or managing claims. So that's the default pricing model. So it's not limited to large carriers, because yes, large carriers have more bigger problems to look at, complex systems where the data is all scattered, a lot more claim dispute happening, or you have situations where uh, we have a high peak volume. There's a big disaster happening, like a flood situation, or a situation where there's a bushfire or something is happening. In that case, you get hundreds of people calling a call center to the claim. So we can also support peak volume scenarios. It means that, okay, we want to just support on a hourly basis how many calls that you manage. So it's not just limited to user based model, but usage based model means sometimes you have hundreds of people calling at the same time because there's a natural calamity or something. So it supports those kind of scenarios as well.
Fantastic. What is the implementation like? One of the big problems we have is our systems are generally not top of the line. So do we have to already be, at
Yeah.
least at Guidewire or Duck Creek level,
I think the onboarding process looks
or
like
like
this. We typically go
how
and
how do you plug into
ask
our
the
systems?
customer, give us two things. One is give us your QA assessment spreadsheet, because you must have a spreadsheet. If you're doing any form of compliance or quality or CX analysis, you would have a spreadsheet. Give us that spreadsheet, because we can upload that spreadsheet to our system. It automatically extract all the policies, controls, whatever out of it. Second is we typically get some sample calls so that we can demonstrate that it's actually working to what they need. So we're looking like a 1 to 2 weeks implementation cycle for a small provider, a small broker. Yeah, but if it's a bigger carrier where they're like a Duck Creek level,
It's
or they have
fantastic.
some specific platform, complex claim management system, it does require some onboarding that we see around 3 months sort of implementation cycle, because it's complex to integrate with their systems and data that they already have. But one of the things that we recently launched is about generative AI. That's a complaint co-pilot. So think about it. It's a plug-in model, just like your Chat GPT. You don't need to install anything. You can just go and ask it whatever you want to know. So this co-pilot that we built for complaint and claims is basically, it works out of the box, and you have a claim dispute. You can copy paste the claim dispute and ask anything that you want to know about it, to understand what's going wrong. It will actually tell you what are the things. So which is basically like, it doesn't require any implementation cycle. You can just sign up in the website and start using it. So yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. Uh, how did how did you realize that this was a problem that needed to be
Yeah,
solved, and
I
that you were
think
the right people to,
one of the
to
things,
solve
we
it?
were working
Like,
with
what's the
a
origin story
company
for the
that was
company?
selling funeral insurance, and what we saw is that there was a huge problem in terms of the culture. The way the culture, if you have seen the Wolf of the Wall Street movie, just the sales culture of it, right? Let's sell it by any means. And they were promising a holiday in Thailand, Bangkok, or winning a Vespa scooter. The culture was really contagious. So, but at what cost? What they're selling is funeral insurance to old people, and the old people who are vulnerable, they can't make all the decisions correctly. On a cold call, they were forcibly selling the funeral insurance, which a lot of the old people don't need it. and there was, with that abuse, I think that company got a big fine, and which is why they engage us. But to fix that problem, but that's kind of how it started. But so I think the point I'm making is we have seen companies are paying big fines, uh, but I think maintaining that good culture, like, yes, you need good sales, but you need to also maintain a good compliance, and so that your customers really appreciate. Because when one bad egg or one person abuses the system, the whole industry gets the blame. And of course that's why the regulators are for, right? But you want to make sure there is a balance between sales as well as the compliance. So these
Yep.
two things as two
Yep.
sides of the
Yep.
coin has
Yep.
to come together. We have seen those specific problems, how we got started, and when we realized that most of the companies don't have a system that can do this, we thought it's a good opportunity to really go deep dive into it.
Fantastic. This has been fantastic. Impressive. You guys are doing impressive stuff. When this goes live, I will tag both you and Cognitive View on LinkedIn. But yeah, really, really, really cool stuff. And as we discussed earlier, you guys will be at InsurTech Connect. So for the listeners,
Okay, thanks a lot, Tony. Have a good one.
go check it out at ITC. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you.